All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Giga Rambles time because it's Friday morning. I'm John Caspian
And also another John of the Galvin variety.
with no H's, which is always good.
Yeah.
How's your week been, John? Tell us.
Good. It's been really busy here at the store. We've been doing a lot of prep for upcoming events here in August. And then also, I've been getting ready for my Gen Con trip next week, which is going to be really exciting to see all that new stuff. Yeah.
Gen
So,
Con is going to be amazing.
yeah, I completely forgot that like most of this week has been spent with me winding down from GigaCon, trying to
Dude,
uh,
you had a crazy weekend. Tell us about it. How was it?
Yeah, so GigaCon is our annual War Machine and Hordes giant tournament. This year, I think we hit a new record high of about 46 people showing up to attend.
Nice.
Uh,
Congrats.
we also have, I believe, the record for person who flew out or traveled the longest distance to be here at the con, and that was Alexander Cosma, who flew in
Nice.
from Oakland, California for the event, which is crazy, and we're super grateful that he made the trip out and he performed very well during the tournament. So it was good to see. But yeah, so it was a 3 day event. We started with a an alternate format tournament on Friday to give people like a chance to kind of like warm up and compete with other uh, slightly different lists and variables and all that sort of stuff. And that was champions. And then Saturday we had our qualifying tournaments for our Masters Heat on Sunday. So having the store filled with almost 50 War Machine players, all competing very well throughout the whole weekend, was really exciting. And then we did video coverage of pretty much every round of the tournament from start to finish. So if you guys are looking for that, you can find it on Atlanta War Machine, the War Machine and Hordes General, or our podcast page, which is the Mysterious Talking Yeti Men, which is quite a mouthful to say, but hopefully it sticks in your head.
Right?
Um, so we did all of that. It was really great to see. Florida came back and took the prize again uh,
Nice. Go Florida.
for the win, but this time it wasn't Brandon Andrews who won. It was Rian Nopke, who is a Retribution player from Florida. Uh, Retribution is the elf faction in the game, and they're at a pretty strong point right now. So, uh, not only is the faction good, but Rian's also a very strong player, and him and Brandon were basically duking it out all weekend. I know they played against each other in mass or the Friday tournament, and Brandon won that one. So Rian got his revenge on the finals table. Um, but it was really
Awesome.
great seeing all these guys come in from all over the country, and I know these guys from the whole con tour that I do every year for Machine and Horde. So it's great that they all made it in. I hope everyone had a great time. Personally, me as a tournament organizer, it was so great to see that the event ran smoothly. So I can't thank my helpers enough, Matt Miller and Rob Ashwell, and I mean they're more than helpers; they were the TOs and the commentators uh, to really get this event going like clockwork. Generally, tournaments, especially long format tournaments, towards the end have a tendency to kind of like break down where rounds start going longer or people aren't turning in their lists on time, all that sort of stuff. But this year we didn't have any issues whatsoever. And me as the judge for the event, uh, there was a couple of head scratchers, but most of the time, like there was in the entire thing, there wasn't a whole lot of judge calls,
Sweet.
which I was very thankful for. That we had a lot of players who were experienced enough to know what they're doing, or even if they weren't experienced enough, they knew where to get the information they needed to get the correct judge call. So
Always good.
yeah, like I think it's a great way to really be and like play in the game, is just being like, oh hey, I know where I can find the info that I need, and solve things before I have to scream at a judge to pause my clock and figure everything out, that sort of stuff. So it's really good to see. But
That's
I had a
amazing.
blast. I hope everyone else had a blast. We got to hand out our first year doing this award, and it was very well received. But it's the Mark Schubach Award for people who don't roll good.
That's
Um,
me.
yeah, no. And so we handed those awards out to people who either beat the odds in the worst way possible, um, or if luck was just kind of against them the entire event. So people had a good laugh at that. We also handed out the honorary Yeti award, which was basically for the person who stood up and provided a whole bunch of help through the event.
Oh, nice.
And that was Ian UC. He and his friends Chase Kerr and oh my god, I'm blanking now. I think it's
That's how it
Jason.
works.
It's either Jason or James. They drove in from Louisiana, but Ian brought more than half of the terrain that we ended up using for the event, chess clocks,
That's awesome.
objectives, flags, all that sort of stuff. He really helped us out, and we were very thankful for him to do so. So,
Very
um,
nice. Big shout out to him.
yeah, basically, it really helps a whole lot with people to bring in extra supplies and all that to really kind
Hmm.
of give it more professional edge, because we had enough terrain to service the event, but like we would eventually rely on that like 2D like cut foam terrain, which
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily look great, but Ian was able to bring enough terrain that looked
That's
phenomenal.
awesome.
Yeah.
So good. Now, the title of today is "Look at the Size of That Thing." Now, it's not a double entendre in that way, but it does have two meanings to it. One is we have the Superstar Destroyer. Boom! Look at that, huge! Oh my god!
Yeah. For those who don't know me in
Holy
person,
crap!
I'm not a small guy. Um, and this is $200 worth of Imperial Might that I'm pulling. Um, the Superstar Destroyer has a pretty firm release date of August 1st, so it will be out when we're at Gen Con, which is unfortunate, but I can't wait to see this guy on some tables. And I know it's probably not meant for an every game kind of thing, but
It can be though.
yeah, I mean, it can be, absolutely.
I would.
But that's how I wanted to see it be done, especially if you're going to pay the price to get such a cool ship. Like, it is an investment. Um, I think it's worth it to just drop it in every game. It might be your max allotment of points, and if that's the case, you're a okay. As long as you don't have some rebel general like suicide her ship through yours, you're a okay. Um, but yeah, so this is the much awaited Superstar Destroyer. Uh, God, we got previews for this in what, November last year?
Oh, earlier it was at Gen Con last. I think it might have been at Origins last year even. I know
Oh
for sure I
yeah,
saw
yeah,
it at Gen Con. We got to
yeah.
see it in person.
I remember seeing the coverage at Gen Con too. I don't know. It might have been talked about at Origins. But yeah, so we've known about this for almost a year, and this is probably the longest it's taken them from announcement to ship from Fantasy Flight. And I think it's well worth the wait. I wish I could get you guys in here to really kind of see the majesty of this. And bonus points for anyone who paints like cool ship designs on the side of it. If Matt Blaisdell played Rebels, I'm sure he would do that. Or sorry, played Imperials, not Rebels. He would do that. So yeah, it'll be
I feel like
here.
if it is it not quite fully to scale because it can't be. It would be like 2 tables worth, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, there's some liberties in scale taken, and I think it's just basically to make it function on a table. Like, so it's not taking up 2 tables or a full table in itself. It's just taking up a quarter of a table.
Yeah, because they have two levels to it. One is the one that's usable in 400 point, which is the average, I believe, for games. So that is,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the executor style. There's two styles basically. There's like a 1 and a 2. The
Right.
2 is the proper, like this is a Super Star Destroyer one, and I think that one's usable in larger games. It's 400 something points plus the upgrades, and then you
Mm.
have the one that's 250 plus upgrades. So you can take that and then some support ships or maybe a Star Destroyer, regular size. Imperial 2 or Imperial 1. I'm a super big Star Wars geek, so I'll talk about it all day long.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the only type of Super Star Destroyer either, so there is potential if it, sells really well, which I imagine it will. A lot of people will get it just for a display model,
Yeah.
even if they don't play Armada. But it sells well enough, they could bring all kinds of other. There's an Eclipse class, which is even bigger, I think, than the Executor. That's Palpatine's personal Star Dreadnought. So there's all kinds of ships. So good, so geeky. I love it.
Nice.
Oh, there's even
Yeah.
supposed to be a smiley face underneath. I know you don't have one open, but someone who did an unboxing saw that there was someone had modeled a smiley face in there.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to checking that out. And once it gets unboxed, especially with the amount of Armada players that we have.
Yep.
You know, uh,
And it's not the only thing that is large at Gigabytes. We also have our events, which you talked about just now with GigaCon, but we
yeah,
also have another Age of Sigmar event that's what, already a third filled up, you said?
yeah. So the original idea of GigaCon was not to be system specific. It just so happened that the War Machine and Hordes events grew, um, and then the other systems like the Malifaux and the Warhammer and the 40K and all that sort of stuff um, didn't. We never really got a solid TO for those events. But this is the first year where we have a TO. We have someone who really wants to make this event happen, and that's Kai. Kai has decided to take it upon himself to run a Grand Melee for GigaCon. So this is going to be GigaCon Grand Melee for Age of Sigmar. It's a 2,000 point 2 day with an optional third uh, Age of Sigmar event. So we are already a third of the way full, and a lot of that has to deal with one of the people that we are trying to partner with. His name is Jacob Barry. He runs a podcast called Rage of Sigmar. Uh,
Nice.
I am going to qualify right now. It is it does come with a mature audience only warning label. They are funny guys, but their language filter is not there ever.
The event will still be, age appropriate and, kids can play and everything. It's fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just that Jacob Barry has taken upon himself to help us with coverage pre and post the show. So he'll be doing some list discussions on his podcast, and which we'll be putting up as well. Um, but the event itself will be at Gigabytes Cafe, and it'll thus follow all the rules that we have at Gigabytes, which will make sure that it's age appropriate and friendly to anyone who comes in. And so we're super excited about that. So it is taking place the weekend of November 17th. It's a Saturday, Sunday event. The third optional day is the Friday beforehand, and we're planning on doing a Warcry event. So, yeah, so it'll be a Warcry specific one. So there'll be an additional fee if you wanted to come in for the Friday, but it's up to those who are traveling from far away. And telling by the signups, we have a lot of people coming in from all over.
Sweet.
Because,
Now we
oh,
also have Warzone Gigabytes 3, the
yep,
third in the series of Warzone. So Warzone Atlanta, every November, they're upgrading to 180 players this year. They've been at 120-ish the last couple of years, and now they're finally getting a new space. So then this year's in November is going to be 180 players. But they've been doing Warzone Gigabytes here at the store, and it's 64 players as a cap. So they said that there's a few slots left if you want to sign up. I can see if I can put down the link, or if David, if you're watching this, you can put the link to Warzone Atlanta to sign up. So we have some players slots left over. Huge event, it's great. You get food and a drink in the event, which is a huge advantage of the store. Is that anytime we have these large events, we can actually include food, drink, and stuff like that. Whereas other events, you might have to get your own, and then you have 64 players who have to go out for lunch, and it becomes a mess.
no, absolutely. David says no, or Gigabyte says no, which I'm assuming is David. Um, uh, so Warzone Gigabytes, what? This is the second or third year that we've run it.
Third one, yep.
Third. I do expect it to sell out by the time the event comes around. It almost always does. It's going to be a massive, fun event. The guys from Warzone running it always do an absolutely great job making sure that, once again, it is run well. So, like, rounds fire on time, matchings, pairings, all that sort of stuff. There will be coverage here for the event as well. So, even if you don't make it, you should be able to watch it online, which to me is a very important part.
And
And
it's
then,
August 9th and 10th.
yeah, August 9th and 10th. So that's right around the corner. It is the weekend we get back from Gen Con. So I'm really excited about that. I kind of want to check it out. I've been getting more and more the itch to play 40K. Uh,
Really? Tell us.
so
Why is this?
basically to be a part of that community, to join it up. Uh, One of my good friends from the store, Aaron Ware, He's pretty much like locked into 40k. That's his game, and we've tried like playing other games together, but at the same point, it's always, his investment is in 40k, and his free time goes to there. And it's something, one, I want to play games with him, but I also want to meet the other people in the 40k community, other than the few people I get to interact with on the counter or when I'm walking through. It's much different when you actually get to play a game. Um, and so it's also, pushing me to try to finish an army. So I'll probably be trying to do like my salamanders, for 40k, especially with the new marine release on the horizon. So doing something that's a little bit different, and hopefully just airbrushing or contrasting it, all at once to make it a nice uniform army, so I don't have to worry about painting all that much. That would be my ideal.
Yeah, I actually have my Necrons, and I was gonna airbrush them like a light blue, and I thought I might as well just get a Talisar blue and just go to town with the
Yeah,
contrast. And I got about half of them done last night. I have 40 warriors to paint up, so I got about 20 done, plus the command barge, plus 2 destroyers in about
yeah,
15 minutes.
yeah. And that's the thing, is like I'm always torn between like just grabbing warp lightning and like knocking out almost all the salamanders, or doing it more airbrush and traditional way. Like I keep flip flopping back and forth on what I want to do, but I need to finish a couple of the armies in front of me right now before I get to it. So I have a little bit of time to think about it and maybe try some contrast out, um, before I finally say yes or no for the you know um, one way or the other, whether it's contrast or airbrush.
Yeah, to
So
me, with contrast, I can always go back in. Contrast is not that thick if you don't let it pool too much. So really, if I ever wanted to do cleanup or airbrush, I'm gonna try airbrushing on top of, especially the large surfaces. They
yeah,
pool a lot more with contrast. So I'm gonna see if I want to do a very light airbrush, almost like an ink on top of it, so you can still see the underlying layer. Just give it a little more
yeah,
uniformity, because the splotchiness is a little much with like the destroyers. They have that large like hoverboard thing that they're sitting on. It ends up being
right,
really weird looking. And I found this
yeah.
weird thing that's happening where it ends up getting bubbles on large surfaces. I don't know if you've encountered that, John.
No, I haven't encountered the bubbles. It's just been the splotchiness,
Right.
which on the flat surfaces it can work for a lot of textures depending on what you want to do. But yeah, for like clean mechanical stuff, it can be a little annoying. The bubbles might have to do with, um, it could do with the brush that you're using, and it can also, like, depending on the chemical additives you're doing and whether or not like your contrast paints are well mixed or not. So there's a
Yeah, it
lot
could
of
be that it's
different.
not quite mixed enough. It seems like it's mixed, but it might need even more shaking.
Yeah, like I kind of want to build one of those like industrial like paint shakers uh the for the
We should get
contrast
one for the
paint.
store, and that way people can, shake up their paints when they buy them.
Yeah, that might actually be a good idea. So I might look at that, see if we can buy one and stick it near the paint shelf and just let people like go to town. The only thing I don't want to happen is if the paint rockets off of the paint shaker, depending on which ones we get. So
Yeah, that wouldn't be too good.
I mean, it'd be funny.
Always. We have plenty of fun times at the store. It's always great. Let's talk about Gen Con hype.
Hmm.
So, what
So
are you excited about? Because I got plenty that I'm pumped for.
the big thing with me is Riot Quest will be playable from Privateer Press. That's their new skirmish level miniature game. And I say it's skirmish level, but like it's much it's much more intimate than that. It is. I like to say that if it's a Running Man mixed with a MOBA, so it is almost like a game show esque level of combat where you bring in your gang of characters, and they basically get teleported onto this map, at a random location, and then it's you as the controller trying to decide where and how to place stuff and how to move and interact, especially with all this chaos going on.
Kind of like a coach, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So like you'd be the coach. So it's almost like I know their intent is that, or the idea of the game is that you are playing a war band who is attempting to basically ransack as much loot as possible, before getting stopped by an enemy warband or before like disaster happens, right? So there's this like frantic pace to it, and the strategy it's more of a reactive strategy than like a planned strategy, right? Because like you can end up anywhere, and so the games are always going to play very differently because each person's team of looters are going to be positioned differently on the map almost every single time. So it is breakneck kind of craziness, and so I'm really excited, and it should be very different from, let's say, like other like privateer press games in general, because usually privateer press games there's a lot of like strategy and pre-planning involved and all that sort of good stuff. So this one is, I think, going to cater more towards that like casual and people who want to be right in the action right at the get-go. So low setup, high speed, all that sort of stuff. We're also getting some Monster Apocalypse previews today for Privateer Press. They are
Ooh.
announcing what will be on the pre-sale list for War Machine and Hordes models, and they are updating the game to Mark 3.5 as it was, or Mark 3 Remix, whichever way you want to call it. But basically, there's a huge balance patch happening today. Whenever they office and decide the servers won't break and hit the button to update.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah, like I have no I am almost like 99% sure that there'll be some sort of tech issue involved when they hit update. But it's really exciting for anyone who plays War Machine and Hordes because the game is changing in a lot of uh, there's enough subtle changes in the game to make it one big drastic update. So it's a shake
Interesting.
up to the game itself.
So for a player like me who has, I think, 35 points in Crix,
Hmm.
if I wanted to start playing now, would it be pretty easy? Is it easier with this new
Yeah.
update?
So the idea of the update is they are taking away a lot of the stuff that makes sense to War Machine players, but people outside of War Machine maybe will scratch their heads about. So anything that kind of convolutes the game system, especially in terms of list building, they redesigned how theme forces work. And so theme forces, you no longer have to keep track of how many points you spent on what to get the theme benefits. It's now, if you build a list only using these specific models, you get all of the theme benefits and you get all of the like free solos or free options that that list has.
So
So
I think I'm generic. Is there like a generic Crix faction?
like in terms of the theme lists,
Yeah.
um probably especially if you're going with the starter box, Dark Host would be the best one,
Okay.
because it's the one that focuses on the Banes and all of
I've
that.
got the I think the bile dudes who explode.
Yeah,
Bile
I want to
thralls.
say Dark Industries is the other one, where like Dark Host and Dark Industries are going to be the two big ones for you as a Crix player to look at. So,
Very
and
cool.
they're both pretty open and flexible. They're just not like you get the entire faction.
Hmm.
So yeah,
That's exciting. What else are we excited about? I think we might be able to see the Clone Wars Legion models
yeah, I'm
for
excited
Star Wars
about that.
Legion, which is really exciting. I know a lot of folks are super hyped, like me, for battle droids.
Yeah,
My brother is super pumped for the Clone Troopers. He always loved the Clone Trooper aesthetic. It's just a little bit different from the regular Stormtroopers, but enough so that it really looks super cool.
yeah. I think they're visually distinct enough, and also the fact that they incorporate a lot more color into their designs um, make the clone troopers, pretty recognizable. Um, I'm also really excited about seeing the guys from Dust, 1947, and seeing not only the releases that are coming out at Gen Con, but also whatever they're previewing for the next couple of waves. I'm pretty pumped about that.
It
So
really is awesome. Like for Dust, we have like four different headquarters that are coming out. There's the
yeah,
Merc headquarters. There's the Rakatten Troop, which is the air forces for the Germans.
yeah,
Um,
the USMC
Ranger, heavy
Ranger.
Rangers.
Okay, yeah, Heavy Rangers.
Yep, command squad for them, or
Yeah,
I think it's either command squad or the headquarters for them.
nice. Yeah,
Yep.
so I'm excited to see all the Dust
Oh,
stuff.
and the railgun squads. Have you seen those?
Yes, I have, because you can get them for the IGN or the Mercenaries, right?
IJN. There's two different types. There's the cadets, and then there's the ninja. The ninja
Mhm.
are 2 points more, but they also get the stealth ability, so you can't shoot them until they shoot you with a railgun. And if they
Oh my
only
god.
shoot with a submachine gun, they stay stealthed, which is very interesting. So they can do like they can move up the board without having to get shot off, whereas the cadets can be shot off. And then you also have the merc version. So we have mercs that can be taken in any faction. So if you're a player who needs that railgun, let's say you are like a really up close and personal, maybe Blook Cruise, and you're kind of zombies and
Yeah.
gorillas and beating up somebody, you can take one or two railguns and then have that range and take people out who are in fortified positions.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
exciting.
No, it is. It's like all these new stuff coming out from the Dust Guys is always great to see. There's also on top of all the miniature games that we're seeing stuff for, we should see actually some more models and things like that for Conquest, which I'm excited about. I think they just
Dude, they look
previewed
so good.
the
My
giant
God.
for the Jotnar, the
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty exciting. I want to see more of the Chaos Dwarves, and I'm also looking forward to seeing some of the board games that are coming out. Jim Godin, who longtime regular here at the store back in France, he'll be out there demoing his new board game, uh, which is pretty exciting. And
So
then,
we will actually technically have a live stream booth available. So
mhm.
is going to be periodic live streams, and we're going to have him come in and give us a demo.
Oh, that'd be great. And then also, are we going to be doing a demo of Landon's board game?
Yes. Yeah,
Great.
I just finished the Kickstarter video. We'll have a gameplay video out in a couple of days.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that at Gen Con as well. All these new products. And basically, if you guys are excited about anything, let us know and we'll do our best to get some coverage of it. Please shoot me a message. If there's something that you really want me to go see, I'm more than happy to go look at stuff for you guys. Um, but I will be running around and trying to get as much info and photos for y'all as I possibly can,
Yep.
especially of all these new products. So
There's so
really
much to
exciting.
cover, and even with
Yeah.
two of us, it's going to be nearly impossible to get everything.
Right. No, it absolutely is. So definitely
For anyone who
let
hasn't
us.
been to Gen Con, it is absolutely massive. It's the Indianapolis Convention Center, which is actually only 2 hours away from here in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But the booth area, now you get to go to a special retailer
Retailer event.
event, right,
Yeah.
John?
So I'll be going to a retailer event on Wednesday. I am not 100% up on the specifics of it yet, and I'll be doing that today, making sure that I'm going to the right places at the right times. But I'll be reporting whatever they let me report that Wednesday. So we'll see what I'll be able to share with y'all Wednesday evening after it's done. Expect a big write up from me, and I'll at least be able to talk about all the stuff that I've seen and what they're mentioning. There's been a lot of shakeups in the industry lately, especially with Asmodee North America, kind of venturing out on their own, and then also taking Cool Mini or not with them. So I'm excited to kind of see how they perform at Gen Con this year and how they address it and talk to us as a retailer about how we can get you guys as customers the products that you want. So that's kind of one of my big goals while I'm
That
over
is
there.
exciting. We actually got a Wild West Exodus update 1.09 that came out today.
Ooh,
So for anyone who is not familiar with Wild West Exodus, Wild West, that's in the name, but then Exodus is kind of a twist on it. So then you have
yeah.
all the high technology and aliens and all kinds of cool stuff with
Yeah,
it.
it's literally like it's set in the Wild West, but it's a mishmash of a lot of other like pulp favorites.
And
Like
tropes.
yeah, you got like the Greys, you got like the weird like kind of necro-mechanical dark magic guys. You also
Yeah,
have
there's the Hex, right?
yeah, the Hex. Then there's also the Warrior Nation, which is the natives. Um, who use their connection to the world and the animals within it to kind of fight back all the craziness. Plus, with other people going to high technology, it's everyday humans eventually get their hands on it too. So you have all different sorts of factions with like weird tech that doesn't quite fit in a normal Wild West setting, but it works out. It's like a mix of cowboys and aliens and Wild Wild West. Jim West. Oh, David's not here to start singing with me. That's a shame.
I'm not going to.
I know. Dave would normally chime in and we do at least the first verse of the rap. But anyways, um, but it's really an awesome system, and I'm hoping Brandon from War Cradle's there, and he can hop on stream with you to kind of talk about where Wild West Exodus is going in the future, and then also a little bit more about Lost World Exodus, which they should be talking a little bit more about at Gen Con since it's going to be such a big con.
It's gonna be cool. I really like some of the aesthetic of the concept art. The samurai,
Oh yeah,
totally getting those.
I'm just whatever faction gets to use the most dinosaurs. That's what I'm playing.
By
And I
the
know that
way, John,
free.
do you know that there's a Reaper? I think it's the Black series that has dinosaur models, but like they're like
Yeah.
infantry.
Yeah. So I actually bought some of those models in metal, but I'm
Nice.
waiting for them to come out in Reaper Black in retail so I can buy more and paint them up.
They
'Cause
are indeed. So I'm not sure if they're at the store yet, but I just saw some yesterday
yeah,
in the
that's great.
wild. Yeah, they look really cool.
So exciting. But yeah, I love the Reaper Black, and that's something also that I'm excited to look out for at the convention is the Reaper Black models. Um, for those that don't know, Reaper Bones has moved from Reaper Bones to Reaper Bones Black. They basically upgraded the quality of their plastic while still keeping that same price point.
Mm-hmm.
So the models are able to hold more detail. They're a little bit firmer, so they're not as bendy, um, and they look absolutely great. I've been buying up as many as those models as I see that come by that are either swamp, reptile, or dinosaur themed. So, but it's been really
And there's
good.
some really cool stuff for D&D in there. Like they've got
Yeah.
all kinds of like creatures, goblins. They've got like desks and stuff as well. So I know we have our D&D sets, which are our terrain sets.
Yep.
But if you ever want to supplement that, you've also of course got the WizKids models, which is all the
Yeah.
D&D and Nulzers and everything. But then now
So
these Bones and Black series, you can order it from us and say, "Hey, give me a desk."
one of my favorite things that I picked up from the Reaper Bones Black was actually a like a little rowboat. Um,
A
so it
rowboat.
comes, yeah, like it's a little boat. It comes with oars. It even has like a little lantern that you can hang on the back of it. And it's just it's so nice to have for like D&D adventures and all that. Like let's say the guys are trying to sneak out of a city at night or um, crossing a river kind of thing. It's really characterful, and it's been something that I've been looking for, kind of just like a boat to fit about 4 party members, where I don't need to get like a ship like I would normally buy from Blood and Plunder for that event. So yeah,
So cool, so cool, so hype. There's even so much stuff. It's hard to keep track of everything because you get promotional emails, and sometimes, like when we went to Origins last year. After that, there was 3 months of spam that I got because I didn't sign up for any email lists. But people are like, "Oh, I have your business card. I'll
yeah,
spam you, some stuff."
nice, yeah.
It's
Uh,
rough. It's rough. The things we sacrifice for y'all, getting 300 emails in a couple of days after a convention.
yeah, I basically like I now have my emails divided into like portions so I can more or less uh, manage the onslaught of stuff that I get.
I don't mind when someone writes it out themselves, but when they act like I've subscribed to it, just
Yeah,
even business wise, it's one of those things where if you don't subscribe to something, don't send someone a mailing list.
yeah. And John, are you planning on playing in any events?
Yeah. So I know I'm doing the Dust. It's not tournament; it's like a game day basically. So I'll be in
Okay.
and out of that. We're gonna stream at least one Dust game from the day.
Oh,
So we're gonna
great.
have me versus Gregoire. Is gonna be good.
Well, awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
So I know I'll be probably playing in one of the War Machine and Hordes event or the Monster Apocalypse one. They're doing a narrative event for Monster Apocalypse, which I'm kind of excited to check out what that's about. So and then from there, I'm going to try as many new game systems as possible. Maybe get a demo of Conquest from the guys that made it. So
Yeah, let me talk to him. I'll give a email to him and see if we can set up a time for them to come on and do a gameplay video for us.
yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh, that is basically like Gen Con in a whole. So if you guys are interested in anything there, especially as news gets released from Gen Con, please message us and let us know. Um, And from there, I kind of want to talk about what came out last weekend news wise,
Hmm.
simply because there's a lot going on last weekend. We maybe didn't get a chance to cover it, but there was a big announcement for Age of Sigmar. So, uh, Age of Sigmar basically has four new things coming out relatively soon. Uh, the first of them is Beastgrave, which is season 3 of Underworlds. So the thought or the fluff of this expansion is that people have finally started making their way out of Shadespire. Like they have escaped from the mirrored city, and they popped up in the realm of beasts. And this is going to be
That's
them trying
Gur,
to
right?
survive. Yeah, Gur, the realm of beasts. And so they're going to be trying to survive through all this new um, horrors that await them on the other side of the city. And so it looks like we are getting centaurs. We are getting possibly new beastmen or new chaos. Uh, it looks really cool. So the new chaos would be under Dark Oath, I believe, is what they're moving the keyword to. So, uh, and I know anyone who plays Underworlds is really excited about it as well, because this is a chance for them to kind of retouch on the rules and like maybe redo the card lists and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, for tournaments they just brought out a banned list actually similar to Magic.
yeah, well, so they've been doing like the banned and restricted list, and I want to say this is the first time that they didn't outright ban a card; they just restricted some more. And I personally like that a lot about the Shadespire stuff, just because they are active in balancing the game. So they
Hmm.
definitely want it to be a very competitive and high skill level game at a tournament level. So they are doing their best to keep with it. The next announcement number two, was two new battle tomes are coming out
Yeah.
for older armies. And I wish Mark was here before he left, but
He'd be
uh,
crying on the floor, I think, at this point
I
with
know.
happiness.
The first of them is Cities of Sigmar. Cities of Sigmar takes basically a lot of those old world fantasy units, the free peoples, the wanderers, the dispossessed, and they combine them all into a battle tome and let them have access to some of the more recent Age of Sigmar editions like Stormcast, Sylvaneth, and Caradron Overlords. And what this book does is it's not just, humans the faction. It's not just, you know, old dwarves the faction. It's the actual cities themselves. So
Oh,
you don't
neat.
play as the humans, you play as the city of Heldenhammer, and that gives you basically the units you're able to build a list from, right? So one might be more human centric but allows for stormcast or maybe just dispossessed cannons because the cities wanted to garrison those cannons in.
There's one with a Sylvaneth.
Yeah, so the city that's in the realm of life gets to use the wanderers, which are the wood elves of
Yeah.
or the what the wood elves have become, and they get to use Sylvaneth as well. And
So
I know
cool.
Jeremy Jones, who I hope is watching, because he's been talking about that for a while. He's really wanted new rules for the Wanderers and a way to play them in the game. And this city will be the best way to do that because he gets to take those Wanderers and then also add in those new options of Sylvaneth. Now,
So
they'll
good.
have different artifacts and abilities than, let's say, taking just the Wanderers from the old General's Handbook or just the Sylvaneth from their new Battle Tome. So it'll provide a unique gameplay experience for the people that want to play these armies, which I think is amazing. And same with the Caradron Overlords. So Caradron Overlords never really had a dedicated melee unit. They had the Arcanaut companies, which were, the swashbuckling cutlass and a gun dwarves. But those guys aren't there to stick around. They're there for a short, or was it a good time, not a long time. Um, but now, if they get access to Dispossessed, they'll be able to take like Iron Breakers or the Fire Belchers or just the standard Dispossessed warriors, which all will hopefully be more survivable than just the regular Caradron. So it's a great way to kind of mix match and make up for some of these like more limited factions shortcomings. So yeah,
So
uh,
exciting. And the
this
orcs. So we have
yeah,
Bone Splitters and Iron Jaws
Iron
combined.
Jaws. Yeah, so then we're getting Orc War Clans as the next book. This one was actually kind of surprising because I really thought they were going to try to make Iron Jaws like their own thing. Um, It was going to be Games Workshop's Fetch, but it's not happening. We can't make it happen. They're getting combined with the Bone Splitters, and so what was two limited factions are now getting merged into one faction with a lot of options, very similar to Gloomspite gets. So
Because
you know,
Gloomspite has four different like goblin types, right?
technically three. So you have the Moon Clan goblins, you
Mm-hmm.
have the Spider Riders, and then you have the Trogs. Now you can take the Moon Clan goblins and kind of split it from your standard Moon Clan goblins and squigs, but most of the time those are together, and there's not really like that much difference from playing those two apart or together uh,
Gotcha.
in terms of like gameplay rules. Um, but so in this Orc Warclands, you have the Savage Orcs and the Iron Jaws. Once again, you can play them separately, limited, and have different access to different abilities and spells and all that, or you can play them together as one big green horde and kind of shore up each other's shortcomings. You know, the Iron Jaws don't have access to any range, nor are they able to have a wealth of bodies on the board. And those are two things that the Bone Splitters do very well. The only thing the Bone Splitters don't necessarily do well is become hardy. You know, they are not hard to take down. They are relatively squishy. They just kind of hit hard.
We got
So
loincloths for armor, yeah.
yeah, they got
My
their
favorite one is the two dudes with a giant spear. The two
yeah.
orcs.
So
So
and
funny.
and that's one of the units you can use in Warcry too, which I think is hysterical. Uh, I just imagine two orcs running around the all points with just one giant spear, and Chaos Guys being absolutely confused what's going on. Um,
That's so great. I
so,
actually got those took out one of my stormcasts when I was playing last time.
oh yeah, I mean it's a big old spear. Uh,
So irritating.
they're just not subtle about it. So yeah, these guys are getting merged into one big book, which I think is definitely healthier for the game. They didn't say if there's any new models or terrain coming out for these two books, but I want to say that it's fairly early announcement, and there might be something, but don't be disappointed if there's not. I think the cities of Sigmar would be the one least likely to get terrain, just because terrain or endless spells, because of how diverse the book is. It's not
Hmm.
just a army; it's like seven different armies put in together. Um, the third announcement is the Maw Tribes.
Oh
So
yeah.
the Maw Tribes is the new ogre book from or new ogre battle tome from Games Workshop, and this should cover all of the um, ogre models that are not in Beastclaw Raider. So you know your Gust, blah, blah, blah. Gust. I can't talk at all. Gut Busters. There
Gutbusters.
we go. There we go. Yeah, let's take two. Let's start this over again. Um, So Gutbusters, Maneaters, Iron Belchers, all those sort of fun ogre guys are getting finally their own battle tome with a new model, the Ogre Tyrant, which is really exciting. And I think they're retiring
He looks
basically.
awesome, by the way.
Oh yeah. It's a solid model. I really love the design of it, and it had me thinking for a second. It's like, well, I already played Destruction, so why not like go to ogres? I can't do
Heck
that.
yeah.
But it's tempting. So it's a whole new book for them. I want to say it's probably going to be closer to the next one coming out, um, but we'll see because I believe the Maw tribes are getting combined with announcement number 4, and announcement number 4 is the Soul Tithe. So whatever was awakened in Forbidden Power is now getting ready to lead an army for Nagash, and speculation is wild on who it is. We know that it was someone who used to call an ally to Nagash. We know it's someone that Sigmar struck down and then imprisoned in a penumbral engine, and it is going to be bone centric. So the initial thought was that it was going to be Vlad von Karstein coming back, who's one of the
Ooh.
vampires from the old world, but it doesn't necessarily fit in with the bone theme. You know, being a vampire, you don't necessarily think vampires equate to bone. But we also have Neferata as the Mortarch of blood, who leads the Soul Blight. So it could be Vlad. Um, there's also a chance. I believe it was Drakenfels, who was basically he used to be one of the big bads, and when he was struck down by Sigmar, Sigmar was still like immortal. Like this was like tribal King Sigmar bringing civilization to the uncivilized in old Warhammer Fantasy before old Warhammer Fantasy really took off. Um, and so Drachenfels was a necromancer, and I think he led like even an army of goblins with him as well. It was a crazy time. A lot of people are speculating that it might be him. It might be Krell, who was another named undead character. And then always the fan favorite. People think that it might be Tomb Kings coming back
Oh, dude,
under.
yes, please.
So that's what everyone's hoping for, is that it's Tomb Kings coming back. But we know it won't be Cetra because Cetra does not kneel. Cetra is his own master, and I don't think there's any incarnation of him that would follow Nagash. And then it's also speculated that Cetra is a Stormcast right now. So uh,
What?
yeah, so in the book, Cetra, the leader of the Tomb Kings, might have become a Stormcast. They never outright say it, but there's a Stormcast named Cetrus, and uh, he's talked about in the book about how headstrong he is and how he doesn't like to listen to anyone else's authority, but he's very loving of those under his like command, kind of thing. So
Hmm.
like it might be that, or it might be a red herring. Games Workshop might be doing the whole make you look one way while they're getting ready for a new release on
I
the
do
other
love
one.
that.
So, but we should see relatively soon. Next time there's basically a big Age of Sigmar event or info dump, we should hopefully see something. So I'm excited about that. Unfortunately, it's 11:53, and we got people pulling out the door. So I'm going to be taking off, John. But I will
Yeah,
see
I
you
think
at
that
Gen
covers
Con.
everything for me as well. The only other thing I was going to mention is Sisters of Battle, who
Oh yeah,
are
the new
hopefully
Bolton.
going to be displayed at Gen Con because they are supposed to be released in, what, September?
Was it September? Did they give us a date?
Well, they everything's been saying Q3 and or fall of this year for Sisters. So we'll see. It could
Yeah,
be
well,
later. Who knows?
who knows? We'll find out. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Like I said, if there's anything you want to see at Gen Con, give me a shout out and I'll be happy to show it off for you.
Yeah, sweet. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.